Where's Johnny?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
It's so serious.
Roll out.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the In Session Film Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Chasing the Gold after the Oscars reactions. No, don't adjust your screens. Shadan and I are in the same place. I am in Houston, Texas, visiting Shadan, and we just watched the Oscars together.
My first non-family guest, by the way, in my new home, and I couldn't have asked for a better guest. I'm so happy that you came to visit, and we got to have this. Although now it makes the post-Oscars blues so much worse because I'm like, the Oscars are over, Erica's leaving.
I know.
But yeah, what a ride, Erica.
It's been a really fun weekend. Yeah. We explored Houston and Galveston. We did all the things. We went to NASA today. That was super fun.
Mm-hmm.
We just did all the things, and then ending my trip with the Oscars, and what a journey!
We got a journey.
Yeah.
We got a show. I hope, Erica, that for many years to come, we can watch the Oscars together. Whether I come to you, we pick a neutral location. Yeah. You're always welcome here. I would love to have you forever and always. I'm gonna plan a secret way to lock you in my den. I don't know, but for our first Oscars viewing experience, it was an interesting experience.
It was fun. Yeah. It was fun. So.
Well, okay, can we just preface with the fact that, like, we had come back from NASA. It was, like, 5 o'clock. We were kind of in a mad dash to get all our snacks ready.
Yep.
I ordered an entire extra pizza on accident. I have, like...
Shadan's going to have pizza for a
month.
Yeah.
And so I was, like, trying to figure out how to get my Hulu to work. My Hulu wasn't working, so I was, like, near tears, being like, I can't get the show to start. So it was like a chaotic start to our viewing experience.
It was,
first of all,
but it was just like, okay, we're gonna figure it out. Which,
as I've been telling you, I guess we were blessed because for those of you who didn't watch on Hulu, I guess the final categories got cut off there. Mm-hmm. So anyone that was like watching on Hulu didn't get to see actress and I think maybe director, actress, and picture.
Which I would have been really upset about.
So yeah, a blessing in disguise that my Hulu decided not to work. Yeah. But I got that free YouTube TV trial and we settled in with my 5 pizzas
and so many other snacks.
Yeah. So many. Yeah. How are you feeling? What are your because we tried to kind of hold our commentary a little bit. Yeah. So
I feel mostly like what I thought was going to happen, except for the Honora takeover, which we'll get into. Mm-hmm. But I feel mostly like it's kind of what I thought it was going to be.
Well, let's talk about the show. How did you feel about the show? Because I'm also very mixed on the show in general.
In what way?
I thought it was I like the production design. I feel like I kept commenting on that a lot. I was like, oh, the sets. I said that like over and over and over again.
And we liked the way that like some of the awards were presented. Like I loved like costume design and things like that. They had like actors from each of the films, and then whoever won, like they presented the production person with their award, which I thought was
strange that they only did that for like 2 categories.
Yeah, but I liked it. I did like it.
It was a good idea though. But then there was just a lot of things that I felt were really strange. Like I was telling you right before we started recording, like they did a tribute to Quincy Jones, which was beautiful. Mm-hmm. They had Morgan Freeman come out and talk about Gene Hackman. Yeah. But then you had Isabella Rossellini in gorgeous blue velvet and Laura Dern that were there, and no tribute to David Lynch, which
it seemed odd. It seemed odd.
I don't know if it was like cut for time. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but why would that be one that you cut for time?
Very strange.
Yeah.
I thought that I mean, Conan, like, I liked his opening bit. You know, he had some funny jokes. Yeah. The joke about Carla, if you're going to tweet about this, my name was Jimmy Kimmel. Like, that
was funny.
Great. But then his little song about, like, I'm not going to waste time.
Yeah, that was stupid. That was a waste of time.
I hate to say obnoxious, but it was obnoxious. I mean, I liked I think he was, like, genuinely being sincere about, like, you know, everything that's going on in the world, and like,
Yeah.
you know, we're here trying to celebrate movies. Like that, he had some sincere moments, but then he kept doing that thing that award shows hosts do that I don't like, where they're like, "Oh, you're still watching this, haha."
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we're still watching this because we're total dorks and we've literally planned an entire
But
weekend.
also, like,
Yeah.
the way award shows are built are that you stay up because you want to see what's going to win Best Picture or
Right.
what, you know, it's like they force, I don't know, it's stupid.
And like,
Yeah,
very strange to only have clips for the lead acting categories and not the supporting ones.
yeah.
I mean, I thought it was cool that they were kind of introduced each of the nominated pictures, kind of like when they were leading in from commercials, and they had the directors.
I feel like they've been doing that for a few years.
And so
now.
that was I liked that. So yeah, I mean, I think there were things that worked, and the biggest thing I think we were both kind of confused about was the James Bond tribute, because I feel like
that
they do a James Bond tribute like every 2 years. I mean, it's like,
oh, they do.
They literally did one for like, I think the 60th anniversary. I think 3 years ago, and then funnily enough, I was like reading on Twitter that they did one in 2013, and they also had Halle Berry come out and introduce that one.
What?
And like, it's the 63rd anniversary of Bond.
What was the Margaret Qualley of it all? Like, what was that about?
I'm not sure at all. I know she has dance training, I think, so maybe they were like, okay, she's a recognizable face. I'm not really sure. That was very random to me.
That did not compute. I don't know. That seemed really strange.
And then I always have this issue with award shows when they play off the not famous people, but they let people.
Oh, we're going to talk about Adrian Brody. We're going to talk about Adrian Brody.
So I think all of this to say a very uneven production. I feel like I think some things worked, some things didn't work. You know, we talked about this where like there weren't that many reaction shots from the audience, or it felt like there were some people that I kept saying over and over again. Like there was a lot of Timmy and Kylie Jenner. There was a lot of Guy Pearce, but then I was like, oh, has Sebastian Stan been here the whole time? Like, didn't see that man.
Right.
Don't know where Killian came from. Felt like kind of dropped out of the sky. Maybe he did drop out of the sky for all I know.
Maybe he just popped in to do the award and then
very
back
uneven in terms of the reaction shots. Like, I thought the John Lithgow being disappointed bit was funny, but they could have brought that back.
Yeah,
and actually
that was probably my favorite bit.
That was a good bit. Yeah. So uneven production.
Yeah.
I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, it didn't blow me away. Like I do feel like it was a fast show. Like I don't feel like it felt, maybe it's because it's an hour time difference from the East Coast and it's not as late as it would have ended at home for me. But I didn't feel like it was too. Remember, there was one point I was like, okay, we're 15 through, and you're like, we're 15 through, and I'm like,
the pace was, well, I mean, maybe because we were like watching it together, so we're like very engaged. But the pace did go well. I mean, they're just, like I said, like we were talking about with having the actors come out. I feel like stuff like that is really cool where they lean into I did like Nick Offerman kind of would say everyone, like, you know, how many times this person's been nominated, how many times they've won. I thought that was cool. I always like when the Oscars lean into that kind of stuff.
It was good.
But let's get into our winners. And Erica, I should say you did much better than me predictions wise.
I think
so. Next year I'm going to be coming to you.
There was also some things that like I didn't even count because I didn't put a guess because I didn't see any of them and I didn't feel right making a guess. So
did you write them down in order that they happened? Okay, so I think we should just go in order, and then if we want to comment as we go down.
Yeah. So started off with supporting actor, obviously.
Yeah, Kieran Culkin with the full suite,
which I think you said you would have preferred to see Guy Pearce there, right?
I would have preferred a lot of people up there. I think Clarence Macklin should have been the one sweeping here, and he wasn't even nominated at all.
Yeah.
And I think Guy Pearce would have been great. I think Yuri Borisov, in the context of Honora kind of being the big winner of the night, him not winning kind of also feels strange.
Yeah, but it didn't feel strange in the moment.
In the moment, it did.
Well, and it was. This is one of those categories I feel like we've been saying, like, oh, Kieran has it, like in lockdown, right?
Yeah, and I wasn't very impressed by his speech. I feel like we missed half of it because they bleeped him out.
Yeah,
it was fine. It was nice to see him acknowledge his TV brother Jeremy Strong, but It wasn't one of my favorite speeches.
He's a little awkward, but it's fine.
It was fun.
So then we have animated feature, which I was proud of myself for getting this one right.
You did.
Yes.
Bravo.
It was Flo, even though love the Wild Robot, and I thought maybe it had a chance, but I just feel like Flo has been so strong, you know.
Yeah, I just stuck with the Wild Robot, and I even when they were like about to call it, I was like, it's probably gonna be Flo, but I picked the Wild Robot anyway. But I'm so happy for those filmmakers and Latvia and like what it's gonna do for, and like
they were so excited.
They were so excited, and I think having like The Boy and the Heron and Flo win animated back to back is so cool. And I just feel like we're in a really interesting time for animation.
I agree.
Like the art of animation. Yeah. So definitely not mad.
It's
that
exciting.
Was a great moment.
Yeah.
And can I just say overall, Erica, a lot of like independent. I mean, obviously, Anora did really well.
Mm-hmm.
Flo won. No Other Land with no U.S. distributor ended up all the way, winning Best Documentary. So a lot of these like smaller films really persevered this year.
Yeah, I think
which is exciting.
I think that's super exciting. I think that's like a good sign for the future. We hope, right? Very exciting. Very exciting. And a lot of acknowledgement in the speeches, which we love to hear. So animated short was next. And shout out to Will, because he was the only one.
Will be honored, the only in-session film
and this is
person who
this is one of the categories that I didn't guess anything. And Will, I almost joined you. I almost said, "Oh, I feel bad. Will's in this one alone. Maybe I should add my name," but I didn't, and I should have, because Will got it right, and it was In the Shadow of the Cypress for animated short.
Yeah, very happy for those filmmakers. I felt like they gave a beautiful speech.
Yeah,
obviously, I feel very personally connected to that film.
Yeah,
I didn't predict it because I felt like Wander to Wonder was kind of a film that a lot of people were talking about, and even like Beautiful Man, I was like, oh, the title is catchy, this and that. But it's kind of
their speech was so charming.
It's
they were
interesting
so charming
because, and we can kind of talk about this later in the context of all the categories, but there were certain categories where I was like, these voters really paid attention.
Yeah.
And like In the Shadow of the Cypress winning, I was like, oh, like they were really, they saw the filmmaking and it was kind of unique, and there's like no dialogue in that short. So it's kind of all conveyed through
Flo is like that as well.
Flo is like that as well. So there's like these categories where you're like, wow, like they were really, paying attention to the artistry and honoring these like films that were very unique.
I am about that. So
great win, even though I got it wrong. I'm just gonna say I went 0 for 3 in the shorts. I usually at least get 1. Normally I get 2. This year I just blanked.
That's okay.
It is what it is.
We're gonna come back strong next year.
Yeah, we're gonna come back strong in the shorts for sure.
Then next we have costume design and Wicked's first Oscar. Very exciting. Which also we'd be remiss to not talk about the opening with Ariana and Cynthia, and
amazing, an all-time opening, honestly.
Incredible,
really good.
And can we just take a moment to talk about Ariana's dress with obviously the nod to the red slipper, but then the red high heel coming off the back of her dress was just amazing.
And Cynthia having her like the note. I'm not gonna try to do the Wicked note, but doing
just iconic.
She's
just iconic.
She is gonna get her EGOT next year with the Wicked original song.
Stop.
I'm calling it right now. And is it Tazwell, Paul Tazwell?
Oh, yes.
The costume designer we should mention is a Grammy away from getting an EGOT.
So we need to get him on an audiobook.
Very, very cool. The first African American man to win costume design.
Iconic. Just iconic.
So
I can't celebrate it enough.
A great moment for Wicked and a great
okay, after that we have original screenplay, and this is where the tables started to turn. We were like, oh.
Well, here's the thing, and I have always had Anora in original screenplay. Even when that movie faded completely off the map and we were like, it's over, I was like, no, Sean Baker is winning original screenplay. It's exactly the kind of film where they would honor the screenplay. They want to honor Sean Baker somehow.
Yeah.
I keep saying over and over again, the big questions of the Oscar was how many of the 4 nominations was Sean Baker going to win? In no world did I think he was going to win all 4. Like, truly, I'm boiled over shocked. But to me, I always thought that original screenplay was the easiest of the 4 for him, just because I mean, even when you think of the Florida Project, I just think when you think of Sean Baker, you think of his script.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And I think when you think of Honora, you think of the dialogue and the back and forth and sort of the kind of her zappy lines that she had.
All of that, like there was a lot of funny moments where like I laughed out. I remember laughing out loud in the theater with Honora, like the guys, like all their banter and funny things. Yeah.
And before we get into this, I just want to say I do love Honora. Like Honora was top 3 of 2024 for me. I love the film. I just am very shocked by its Oscar trajectory.
Right.
Because
because we thought, I don't know, it just felt like you said, it had lost steam. It had lost.
And for those of you who don't follow the Oscar season as closely as we do, so Honora did amazing at Cannes, won the top prizes there, did great at TIFF, placed in the top 3 there. So very quickly it sort of became the one to beat.
Yeah.
And then sort of The Brutalist sort of came out of nowhere, and people kind of were like, no, this is the big sweeping film of the season. And then Honora just felt like it was completely lost a lot of, didn't do well at all in the Golden Globes, only won the top prize at Critics' Choice, didn't get a SAG Ensemble nomination at all, didn't win anything at SAG. Didn't really do well at BAFTA, lost the top film prize there. So it was kind of just all over the place. But then it had that one weekend, we talked about, where it won PGA, DGA, and the WGA. So that was kind of like, it kind of went up, but then it seemed like Conclave was just on its heels.
Yeah.
So just a very strange trajectory for that film, because normally the film, the Palme d'Or winner at Cannes, very rarely there's not much crossover there.
Well, but recently, because last year it was
Anatomy of the Fall. I mean, it was Parasite was one of those films
of course,
that did very well early on too. But traditionally it doesn't, and it just felt like, Honora was like, it would have a good day, it would have a bad day, it was all over the place. So yes, I'm very, very sure. But I will continue to say how shocked I am.
Yes. And then adapted screenplay, I think everyone went with Conclave there.
And that was ended up being the only win for Conclave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. Oh, I do love I guess I didn't even think about it. I do love Conclave. I need to give it a rewatch. But oh my God, that was the only win. Well, and remember, like, it was, I think we were talking earlier today, before the Oscars started, and it was like, could Conclave come out of nowhere and win Best Picture?
Well, I mean, and a lot of the Oscar watchers, Erica, were predicting Conclave, and what their argument was it's going to win editing, and it's going to win screenplay, and it's going to win picture, which is 3 very big prizes. And so when editing rolled around, I don't think that's next on your list. I'm kind of skipping ahead. But when editing rolled around and Sean Baker won editing, I was like, it's finished. It's done. Like, that was the turning point of the night for me, where I was like, oh, it's sealed. We're done.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that soon, because next we have Makeup and Hair, which was The Substance. I think we all were tracking that as well.
And I will again plug my interview with the amazing prosthetic makeup design. He was the one that gave the very charming speech, and he's just a delight. So I'm very happy for him. But spoiler alert, the only win for The Substance.
I know, but it felt like
a very deserving win, because they put that movie together they had 17 days.
That's insane.
Which is just crazy. And no budget, and a very small team. So what they were able to pull off is incredible.
Incredible, yeah.
This tiny movie being distributed by Mubi, like a very small distributor.
Yeah, to be this big and make this big of a mark and a splash, I think is huge. And we were talking about how awesome it was for Coralie to get
that director nomination.
Yeah, that's huge.
And I mean, the fact that like the opening of the show was Conan climbing out of Demi's back, like, for this,
which is wild,
tiny movie to make such a big impact. But can I tell you, in hindsight, Erica, I think Margaret Qualley, like, missing that supporting actress nomination was so telling.
Yeah,
because I feel like it just, I guess, didn't have that support where, like, even Honora, got that supporting actor. So I feel like if they would have felt as strongly about that movie that we thought they did, she would have.
It was disappointing, because it felt like, as strong as a performance as Demi gave, she did as well. And I felt like they were really 50-50 on
Mhm.
screen and all of the things. And
And
yeah,
I
it was
wonder
disappointing.
if ultimately that hurt to me, because I feel like when you think of Honora, you think of Mikey, but
Yeah.
maybe the substance was much more of a 50-50. I don't know. I'm going to be thinking about this Oscar race for a long time.
I know,
I'm gonna
it
be
was a really
pondering all
interesting
the
one. I
questions.
know.
Yeah.
So, okay, so then we have editing, which we already started to kind of talk
Yeah.
about, which I think you and I both said
Conclave. Yeah.
And this is where it was like, oh,
And this is just, I mean, this was a race that I have been struggling with all season. Like,
Yeah.
kept going back and forth. But it just seemed like Conclave, I mean, was, again, had done well at BAFTA, won editing prizes a few other places. So I just felt like it just made sense for Conclave to pick up another prize. I felt like that was such a beloved film, and I just didn't think it was going to be one and done.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was the turning point of the evening. And I just have to say, I mean, we're going to talk about it, but I'm just floored that Sean Baker, the first man in history to win 4 Oscars for one film,
Crazy.
and to tie Walt Disney's record. Like, think of all the filmmakers, all the greats, Erica, that have never been able to win. You have, Inarritu won 3, like all these great filmmakers, and Sean Baker is the first.
I know.
It's
what it doesn't seem. It doesn't seem. It's again. I loved Honora too, but when you look at a film like Honora, like it doesn't have the monumental like
it doesn't
Oscar
It doesn't.
like clout
Mhm.
for like the only word that can come to mind right now.
I mean, it's a small indie film.
It's great.
It's a personal. I mean, and I just don't. It just doesn't seem like the kind of film that would have 5 Oscars. I'm sorry to the Honora Hive out there.
And again, we are both two people who would love the film. It's just it's interesting. It's interesting to see if like this is the way the Oscars are going to shift.
Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot of lessons in predicting this year, which we can get to, but yeah, I will be doing things differently moving forward. I feel like I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
But we can get there.
Yeah. So next up we have supporting actress, and this was I think supporting actor and actress were probably the least the least like what's gonna happen. We knew who was gonna win. So Zoe won there, and that none of us.
But I will say we'll get into this further with other categories, but I'm also shocked with the trajectory for Amelia Perez, because I always, I felt like Zoe was gonna win, but there were other. But all of this to say, and I mentioned this to you, like I think a lot of people were kind of knocking Zoe throughout the season because her speeches weren't the most exciting. But I thought her speech tonight was gorgeous. I just thought she talked about, being the granddaughter of immigrants and just like kind of how moved she was, and you could just tell what it meant to her in the context of her life and her career. And and we talked about this too, that she was an actress that, and we both talked about how much Crossroads means to us, and we love her, but when you thought of her career, you did not think of an Oscar trajectory for her. And I feel like, she just really got this role and took it,
and she's the best part of that film. And I loved her Golden Globe speech. I thought she was fantastic. So genuine, like you said, very moved, very emotional by these wins. And, to be able to, for her, she talked about this during her speech tonight, to do a film in Spanish where she gets to speak in Spanish and do something out of like her comfort zone, if you will, she wasn't blue or green in either of these films.
And it's interesting, like when you think of how many actors and actresses are capable of giving these kinds of performances.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're just never given the opportunity. I mean, we saw that with Demi Moore. We saw that with a lot of, and I asked you this question of who do you think the big Oscar players are that post this season are going to get a boost. And like as happy as I am that Zoe won, like I hope that she does keep doing really interesting things. And like I understand she wants to make her whatever films to support her family. That's great. But like I hope that this leads to her making more independent films that she's passionate about, and more projects that sort of allow her to show off her full range.
Yeah. I mean, I think she'll definitely have the choice to do that, if you ask me.
I'm going to keep a close eye.
Yeah.
She's one of those people. And like Kieran Culkin too.
Yeah.
Of like, what kinds of, is he going to kind of still do these sort of zany comedies? Is he going to go more towards drama? Like, more prestige TV, like another.
Right.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think also, like I said, I think we're gonna start seeing Ariana like in a lot more acting roles, which she swept me off my feet with Wicked. I mean, I knew Homegirl could sing, but I did not know how much she was gonna like take over the screen as an actress. I thought she was phenomenal. I think people are still talking. Like, I think we're always gonna be talking about. And again, like now the official countdown for Wicked for Good starts. So,
but can I? Is
yeah.
this a controversial opinion for me to say that when we were watching the opening and she was singing, I was like, Ariana, I'm really happy for you that you're having, and I hope you. But I still want her to sing because she's such a good vocalist, and I feel like of the young generation of musical talent, she is one of the best vocalists. And so, like, if she were to completely walk away from music, I would.
I don't think she's gonna walk away from
incredible singing.
I don't think she would ever do that.
I hope we have both.
Yeah,
for
I don't
Cynthia
think
too. I hope they do both. I think they're too talented to only do one thing.
I don't think that will happen. I think she will still do both. Yeah, and I think she loves singing. Like, I don't think she's gonna give that up. Which also, we're talking about Ariana, we might as well talk about how Wicked won production design, which I was super happy about.
Yeah, so 2 wins for Wicked.
2 wins for Wicked. 10 nominations. It got 10. I think it was in 10 categories. Is that right?
Maybe.
I think so.
I think it was either 8 or 10.
Yeah.
But it got a good total.
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah. I'm happy. Song was Elma, which I think
Well, here's the thing. And I guess I'm just going to get this over with now. What really surprises me is that it wins. Okay, so supporting actress was kind of always going to happen, sure. But it wins song and loses international. I felt like if it was going to lose international, it would have lost song as well.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of passion for I'm Still Here, of course. Like, it was enough passion to get in the picture. I'm not discounting that. I just thought it was so interesting that it ended up winning song.
Yeah.
And, like, Odiard ended up winning an Oscar. And also, he got caught off and didn't get to talk, which I thought was kind of terrible. Because I was telling you, I was like, I wish, like, whenever they have these multiple people come up, like, everyone gets a chance to speak.
Right.
But somebody on X was like, this is the final F you to Odiard because they cut him off and didn't let him talk. So I was surprised. And, like, Diane Warren, once again, like, I felt like if it was ever going to be her year, it would be this. So I predicted Elma, but I was kind of ready for it to go a different way. So it's interesting that Amelia Perez ends up with 2 wins, and they end up being, supporting actress and song. Which, if you would have told me, and if you would have told me on Oscar nominations morning that those were the only 2 that it was going to win, I would have been like, I literally think I said on this podcast, engraved the Oscar. Yeah, we did. We both did. Yeah. We were like, there's no, like, we'll get to it, but international, we still have a little while to get to that, but I think that was maybe one of the ones I was most shook the night. I mean, and a lot of, the pundits, everybody had switched to I'm Still Here. I stayed with Amelia Perez, and my reasoning was I just felt like the 13 nominations, the love was going to go somewhere, and I just didn't think that the love would completely evaporate because of the Carla Sofia controversy. I just really didn't think that was going to happen. So I get that in some way it does make sense that they gave Jacques Audiard an Oscar for the song, because they're like, let's just honor you here and not have to give your movie. But I mean, I'm Still Here is so good. I'm so happy for the team, for the film, for the country of Brazil. They're having, Carnival right now, and their film wins the Oscar, so there's double celebrations in Brazil happening right now. But yeah, I was ultimately surprised, and I know other people are like, "Oh, the writing was on the wall." I still thought Amelia Perez was going to. I thought so too. Yeah, I thought so too. So, okay, so after song we have documentary short, which I got wrong. I thought for sure it was going to be I'm Ready Warden, because that knocked me on my behind. And I shall say so Erica had not seen so we went to see The Brutalist Friday night when we came into town. Yeah. And I switched a couple of categories after I saw The Brutalist again, which we'll talk about. But I switched to Alien, because I've said all season that was my favorite short. And it's just very timely, and I just thought that's a live action short. I had I'm Ready Warden as well. I'm sorry, guys, my brain is scrambled. I'm Ready Warden as well. I was also bowled over by it.
And okay, so out of the shorts, like I'm Ready Warden and The Only Girl in the Orchestra are two that I watched. So The Only Girl in the Orchestra, like I love the woman in it and I love her story. I feel really bad saying this, but I didn't really love the way it was put together in the short.
No, I don't disagree. But let this be a lesson for all of you fellow Oscar watchers. Netflix does really well in these doc. I mean, they didn't win live action short, ironically enough, even though one of their big pushes was Anuja. But they typically do very well in these categories because these docs are easily accessible. People have more time to watch them. So that's a trend to continue to look out for. In years to come.
For documentary No Other Land, I still have not seen it yet.
Well,
it's been on my list forever.
Nobody has because there's still no U.S. distributor. So it's I guess in a few theaters in New York, LA, but if you don't live there like we don't, you kind of. And by the way, the speech, my favorite speech of the night, because it was for those of you who don't know, like Palestinians and Israelis came together to make this film, and so they sort of both got to talk about what the collaboration meant to them. And as I was telling you, Erica, like people want to say, oh, the Oscars don't matter, blah, blah, blah. But I think when you have these filmmakers come up and give speeches like that, that matters. And I would, again, if you are watching this, I'm assuming you've seen the Oscars, but if there's one speech that I would recommend people going back and watching, it would be that one.
Yeah, definitely.
It's very eloquent, and I just admire that so much because I feel like if I was under that level of pressure, I would get up there and I don't know what would come out. So to have that moment and be able to speak so eloquently about something that our lawmakers and all these people have not been able to say so eloquently, I think really impressed me. And I just, again, it speaks to the power of cinema. And that was, I think the theme of the night was, these films can impact people and they matter. And so, yeah, a great speech, a great win. And again, that's one of those categories, Erica, where I think it shows that sometimes they do pay attention, because if this film was able to make it all the way up to the Oscar stage with no distributor, no, millions of campaign dollars, no events, no nothing. It was just people really passionate about this documentary.
Do you think now we'll see that it hits a streaming service pretty quickly?
I don't know if some distributor is going to be willing to pick it up now that it has an Oscar. I would hope so.
Yeah.
But I hope if there's one thing that comes out of this year, it is more like passion and less campaign. We saw this with Kieran Culkin because he has a play on Broadway, so he wasn't as around, and he was still able to win. So I hope that we kind of move away from this, Oscar, and it's not going to happen. This is me in my sentimentalness, but I would hope that it does kind of become again more about passion and not as pay to play. I'm sorry, I know that I shouldn't say that, but that's what it's becoming more and more. And so wins like No Other Land make me think okay, this is still a thing where people just watch and vote for the things that they really love. So
right. Okay, so moving on to sound, we have Dune 2, which I think we all collectively said. So sound and visual effects, both Dune 2.
So the Lord of the Rings, was it the Two Towers package? The Lord of the Rings sequel also won those two things.
Oh, okay.
And then the third part came out and won, everything. So now we're gonna see if Dune Messiah, is it gonna be the big sweep, or is it gonna kind of fade?
Is that next year, or we don't know?
2026.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be next year. So I keep forgetting we're in 2025.
It was good to see it show up somewhere. I think we all kind of thought that was the only place it was really gonna show up. So
I mean, and we'll get to the Nora of it all. So Nora ended up winning 5, and What the Brutalist won 3. But there was a lot of films that won. Dune 2 won 2, Wicked won 2, The Substance won 1,
and this is something
Amelia Perez won 2. So there was the wealth.
They spread spread the love, spread the wealth, which I think was something we talked about that we wanted to see. So I do feel like it did get kind of spread around, which I think is good. Live action short was I'm Not a Robot.
Yeah, so I was saying I switched to Alien. So I guess it didn't matter that I switched because I got it wrong anyway, because I had Anuja and I switched to Alien because I felt so strongly about that short, which is available through the New Yorker. I'm Not a Robot, also available through the New Yorker. It's interesting. I wonder, Erica, if I'm Not a Robot winning was like kind of an anti-AI statement.
Okay.
And I wonder if like the AI conversation maybe was one of the things that could have hurt The Brutalist. And like it came out later on that some of the other films had also used AI. So like I wonder, speaking of things that we're going to be looking out for, there's some talk that the Oscars are going to make, all films disclose how AI was used.
Okay.
So that's going to be kind of a thing that I'm going to be looking for, is like, how is AI going to shape the Oscar race
right
in the future?
I need to watch that short because
it's good. It's really good.
I haven't seen it.
It's impactful. It's good.
Okay.
A solid win, even though it wasn't the one that I wanted to win, but it's a good choice.
Yeah. Next we have cinematography with The Brutalist. I think very deserving win there. I don't think really a surprise at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad for Ed Lockman because he's one of the greats, and I don't know if he'll have another opportunity to come back to the Oscars. He says that Maria is his last film, but
we'll see.
Deserved win for Lowell Crowley. And a great speech. I like his speech too.
Good speech, yeah.
Great moment.
And this is, like I said, I think the big shocker of the night for I think both of us, a big shocker of the night, not the big shocker, but one of them is we've already kind of discussed international for I'm Still Here winning over Amelia Perez. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it. I'm glad because I think Amelia Perez,
No, I love I'm Still Here. I guess that was my cynical thing where I was like, no, they're just gonna give it to Amelia Perez.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like you said, it was like 13 nominations. Like that is monumental. So how could it have that much love to have that many nominations and not actually get the love of a win?
And it's still going to go down in Oscar history as the most nominated foreign language film ever.
Right.
So, but a great day for Brazil.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
Yeah.
Score, we have The Brutalist, which like loved the score. Absolutely loved the score. One that I know I will listen to.
Literally, my friend texted me during the Oscars, and she goes, "Every time they play that score, I remember how much I love the score." It's great.
It's one of those scores that like can truly take you back to like moments of the film, which I think is like says a lot. Definitely. And then we have we have the speech that we need to talk about with actor Adrian Brody.
Okay, can I just
say it.
Because this is such a fascinating. Well, we can get to the speech a little bit later, but I just think his win in and of itself is super fascinating because if Timothée Chalamet had won, he would have beaten Adrian Brody's record as the youngest Best Actor winner in history. So Adrian Brody gets to keep his record as the youngest Best Actor winner. He's now 2 for 2 in terms of nominations and wins, which I think is interesting. The Brutalist only won 3 awards, so it was only cinematography, only score, and only Adrian Brody, which is so fascinating to me.
It's weird,
because I'm like, did they watch this movie? Because I feel like if they did, they would have given it other things. And spoiler alert for the rest of our conversation. So as I was mentioning, Erica came to town and she was like, I haven't seen The Brutalist. Would you go with me? And I was like, yes. And it was like, I was about to curse. I was like, I can't curse. We go to the theater and like your reactions were everything I wanted them to be. You were like shocked at the exact moments I wanted you to be shocked in.
Shadan went to watch me watch The Brutalist.
I literally went to watch, and I don't regret it at all. It was worth every penny. I would do it again. I would like come to Baltimore to watch you watch it with Tyler. I swear. But here's the thing. So when I rewatched it, though, I was like, this is like an achievement. We keep talking. It's just monumental. It's a filmmaking achievement. And I just felt like there's no way you can watch this film and not give it at least director if you're not going to give it picture. And so like just rewatching it just really sealed the thing of like, and if you're gonna give it actor, which I still felt like, as much as Timmy had won SAG and good for him for winning something, but I just felt like they're still gonna give it to Adrian Brody. I'm just really surprised that film. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's really the length. I don't know if the subject matter turned people off. I don't know if, we talked about sort of the tonal shift between the first part and the second part.
Yeah.
If that was an issue for people, I'm really not sure. But I think the outcome of tonight just still is really shocking for me. And it's just, again, shocking in the context of Adrian Brody, in the sense that, like, he wins this Oscar when he's really young. He does, some interesting things. The Grand Budapest Hotel does some good television work, but he's not really around. He doesn't really become the star that people are predicting him to become post The Pianist. And then he comes back with this role. So I'm thinking, like, do they just really like Adrian Brody? Like, is that kind of, the
Possibly.
audience tonight was very standing ovation happy. He gets a standing ovation. And now we get to the speech, which the speech was really interesting because it started off phenomenal. Because he does put his Oscar win in the context of his career, and he says, like, when you're an actor, you never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And now that I'm back here, like, he literally said, now I have this perspective that I didn't have when he was so young.
Right.
And so, like, you could tell that he was really appreciative of this moment of having, this next chance. I think he even says, like, you get to reinvent yourself, and now this represents, like, an opportunity for what the next 20 years of my career are going to be, which I thought was really beautiful. And as somebody who was not impressed with Adrian Brody's speeches all season long, I just really felt like, yes, now you can take it over.
Then he went off the rails
because he kept going.
He kept going, and then we talked about that. Like, I started pretty quickly saying, okay, they're not playing him off. Okay, they're not playing him off. And we talked about this earlier, like how they're very quick and happy to play off other, like,
if you're not a name.
Yeah, like, and then I just felt like it was really egotistical, really narcissist, kind of like arrogant, pompous, like, no, cut the music.
Yeah, it's not my first rodeo.
It's not my first rodeo. Whoa, like, talk about tonal shift. From the first half to the second half, just like the Brutalist. Like,
yes,
I just was like,
true, because the first half of his speech was so humble, so gracious, of him being like, I understand the impact of this because I've had this career that's been. So
he
for
should have
him
just
to
ended it there.
So for him to go, like, not my first rodeo, I've been here before.
Like, whoa,
okay, wild.
Okay, Mr. like, big shot. Like, it just, I did not like the approach of that. Like, and then the fact that they, like, actually cut the music. They let him dictate. I just was like, not about it. I did not like the way it made me feel.
Because even, I'm sorry to say this, but I have to say it. There's a lot of other people that are also big names, but probably would have still been played off anyway. But I feel like because it's a white male, he gets to keep talking. And like, there's literally a point of the speech where he's like, who did I miss? And somebody says Judy Becker, like the production. And he's like, oh yeah, Judy.
And then she's like, your mom. And he's like, oh yeah, my parents are here. Like, it just was this weird, like, was he like a groomsman at a wedding that got on the mic? Like, it was just like, shut this guy up.
And I think that's the like, kind of the paradox or the weird thing about Adrian Brody is, like, he has these moments of brilliance, and not to be like, I got to interview him, but I got to interview him a couple years ago when he was, kind of in the Emmy conversation for Succession. And he was like such a nice guy, like such a humble guy, like loved our conversation. But he has these like moments where he just like does things. And I don't know if you saw this, Erica, because we didn't get to watch the red carpet coverage because of my TV. But Halle Berry like went up to him on the red carpet and like kissed him, kind of as like a payback for like him randomly kissing her.
I didn't see that.
I just think it's like all of this to summarize. I just think Adrian Brody's a very strange character because he has these moments of brilliance.
Yeah.
And I think he's genuinely brilliant in The Brutalist.
Yeah.
But then he just does things that are very strange and off-putting, and I'm like, why?
Off-putting is the exact right word. Yeah.
And I think it's unfortunate because I think it kind of taints the performance, and I think it taints his legacy, because now I said he's 2 for 2, and there's not very many people that can say they're 2 for 2 at the Oscars.
Yeah.
In Best Actor especially. So
and such a wide age
range of time. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. I don't know if maybe I wonder if other people are as off put by his speech as I was. I think the way he handled it.
I think so. Okay. Although I don't know, because I don't know when we didn't get to talk after SAG, but I was really off put by Timothée Chalamet's, because Timothée Chalamet won at SAG. And I didn't like that speech. I thought that speech was very egotistical, but then people were like, oh, good for Timmy.
I need to watch it.
Because he basically said, like, oh, I want to be one of the greats. I'm in the pursuit of greatness. And I was like, I don't. But then a lot of people, but I think people are willing to give grace to some people and not give grace to others. And that's kind of what gets to me. But as I said, there's a kind of some of these characters from this Oscar race that I'm very invested in what happens. And I think Adrian Brody is one of them. Yeah. Because I'm like, is this actually going to be like a comeback, or is he kind of going to disappear again and like come back in another 20 years? Like, are we like in a 20-year Adrian Brody cycle? I don't know.
I don't know. And then from here on out, it's just an Honora takeover. Director, we have Sean Baker, which I was shooketh. Yeah. I felt bad for Brady Corbet. He again, really enjoyed Honora, loved it. Like, very much, I will recommend it to people. But it just felt like a different type of experience than the cinematic experience of The Brutalist. Mm-hmm. And the, not to compare achievements, but it just seems like The Brutalist is on a different scale than Honora.
And I love Sean Baker. I've been a fan of his for so long. And we should mention he becomes the first person in history to win 4 Oscars. Walt Disney had also won 4 Oscars in one night, but for 4 different things. So Sean Baker becomes the first person in history to win 4 Oscars in one night for one movie.
And then I think if you know that movie is Honora, if you had never seen it and then you watch Honora, you're like, oh. Yeah. For this, and that sounds negative, and I don't mean it to be negative, because again, I loved Honora, and I think it's a really great story, a really great independent, film that really tells something personal and something unique, and honestly, kind of fun and funny in moment. I do think it has a lot of things. I just don't think I look at that and think of this monumental achievement like I do with The Brutalist. I look at The Brutalist and I'm like, holy moly.
Yeah,
right?
I just I have to be honest, I don't think Honora is the kind of film that I think of as a 5 Oscar winning film. And I adore Sean Baker. I don't think he's the kind of filmmaker that should have 4, when you put it in the context of
it's
the
wild.
Greats of, the Scorseses, the Spielbergs, the Quentin Tarantinos, the Iñárritus, all these greats have not been able to, even the Chloe Zhao, the Jane Campion, all the greats of cinema, to have Sean Baker get 4 in one night, it just is probably too many for me, literally. Yeah. And I think it's unfortunate, because I do think it actually taints Honora in the long run, because I think a lot of people are going to watch it and go, huh? Mm-hmm. Where if it had won the 2 to 3, 4 Oscars that maybe we were originally total predicting for that film, we would be having a different conversation about its legacy.
I agree.
So again, I'll be very curious, what happens to Sean Baker? How do you make a film after you've won 4? Where do you go?
What do you make?
What do you make?
What do you make next?
What kind of film are you going to get the budget for? And Brady Corbet too, because for those of you who don't know, I think, there was a couple of, award shows or something that he had missed. And so they had sort of asked him, he had this great episode of the Mark Maron podcast where he talked about the fact that he had flown to Portugal to direct commercials in Portugal because he was struggling financially. Wow. Because he had spent, I think it's 7 years of his life making The Brutalist. And he can't live off that kind of money for that long of a period of time. So he was really struggling to make ends meet for his family. And so I also wonder about him. Mm-hmm. He's only 36, very young guy. What kinds of movies does he make? Yeah. The Brutalist was also super personal for him. So is he going to continue to sort of lean into these very personal films? And Honora was also very personal for Sean Baker, but I'm very curious sort of what his career trajectory is going to be. Yeah. How many doors does this open for him? Right. Yeah. So yeah, I do feel very sad for Brady Corbet. I felt like that one, should have gone a different way.
Yeah. And then I know you're going to have a lot to say about this one. Actress. We both had Demi, and Mikey Madison won. Again, love her. Yeah. Thought she was phenomenal as Honora.
And this is where I want to say, the lesson of Oscar predicting that I think I finally, 2 lessons that I've learned. One is, and we saw this with Nomadland. We saw this with Poor Things. We saw this with even what was the movie that Olivia Colman won for?
The Favorite.
The Favorite. Whenever there's like the stronger of two movies and you're looking at a close race, the person in the stronger overall film is going to win. And I bet against that this year because I was like, Demi Moore
it's her turn. I was like, this is
turn.
It's
She's
happening.
an icon. I looked at sort of that the makeup and acting combination that we've seen over and over again, and I thought, okay, the substance is winning makeup, and so Demi is going to pair with the makeup. And so I think I just need to learn that as sentimental as I am, I need to take the sentimentality out of it because Oscar voters are not sentimental.
No.
If they were, they would have given Brady Corbet something. They wouldn't have given Sean Baker, all four of his nominations. So that, and next year, Erica, if I start telling you, oh, so-and-so is an icon, they have a great narrative, I need you to tell me, remember how you got burned by Glenn Close, how you got burned by Demi, how you keep getting burned by these races?
Yeah.
I was so, Lily Gladstone last year, I just refused to move off Lily Gladstone, and I need to just learn these narratives that we become so invested in, but she gave such a great speech at the Globes or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and, it's funny is even like earlier before we got to actress, right, when we'd seen Demi and the dress she wore, it was like you even said like that is a dress you wear to the Oscars to
when you
win.
Think you're gonna win.
To win.
She thought she was gonna win.
She looked of course, like she looked incredible, and it was like I also think a sentimental thing where it's like, but you also want that person to have their moment. Like you and I were discussing, it's like, what do we think is going to happen after this? Do we think Demi's going to have another chance? And like, I'm big on like, we shouldn't give out participation trophies. And I don't think that's what any of this is, but it is we'd be remiss to not make the point that, there's going to be a lot more opportunities in Mikey Madison's career from here on out for her to have a chance. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that she shouldn't win the Oscar, but it is something when it's like, okay, I don't know.
No, and I'm sorry. I do think that needs to be said because again,
but like you said, I don't think Oscar voters think
they don't think that way. But I think of like the Lily Gladstone and Emma Stone, like, an actress like Emma Stone, an actress like Mikey Madison, like there's always going to be these ingenue 25, 26, whatever roles. But when you're an actress of a certain age, or if you're a minority, there just aren't as many roles. And so it's sad because I'm like, is Demi gonna come back? I would hope so, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
I hope. It's funny because she was at the DGA and she posted a picture with Christopher Nolan, and people were like, "Oh, Christopher like put her in the Odyssey," and like you would hope that would happen for her. You would hope that people, and I think sadly, we keep talking about, Demi had the narrative, and she did, but she also had the performance. It was also just a phenomenal performance.
Yes.
And
she was the center piece of that film and was phenomenal.
She carried the whole campaign. Yeah. She was just everywhere. Yeah. She put her heart and soul in, and she was constantly lifting up the director. She was constantly lifting up Margaret, the whole team.
Yeah.
So I feel
I think
really,
we can just
really
hope.
sad.
I know.
Sad.
I know. I hope we can just like we talked about earlier, look at this and think and say like, this is going to give her more opportunities where she might not have had them before.
I hope so, but I don't really have. I think we see some, Oscar nominees and winners that take off, and some just don't.
Yeah. And then of course we have Honora winning best, and like it was that thing where it was like the domino, right? It was like, Honora's winning, and then it won. So
yeah, because remember, I think once we had gotten to Sean Baker winning screenplay and editing, I was like, okay, Erica, I think, but I was like, is Mikey gonna win? And then once Mikey won, I was just like, okay, yeah,
it's done.
It became very anticlimactic by the end. But I mean, and Sean Baker in his I think when he won for director, gave a great speech about sort of independent cinema and encouraging parents, their kids.
Yeah, so like, that was a
lot of really great speeches. I mean, he honored, his mom, and he had 4 speeches, so he honored his mom in one of them. He talked about the sex worker community and how much their stories meant to him, and Mikey also spoke about that in her speeches. So like, I think it's a great team. I'm really happy for them. Like a lot of really talented people. I just wish that the wealth had been spread a little bit more.
in the big categories. Because
In
like
the big categories.
like I brought it up afterwards, like Honora won 4 out of the big 5. And the only reason why it didn't win because it didn't have a nomination in lead actor. And it's crazy to think that like it could, like, it won 4 out of the big 5, which is crazy.
If it did have an actor, I bet you that person would have won.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I told Erica, I was like, if I become president of the United States, my first executive order is to release the vote totals, like post-Oscar, because I'm just dying to know, like,
I would love
how
to know too.
close the like Demi versus Mikey race really was. Like, was it close, or were we just inventing this? Like, maybe it was like Fernanda Torres in number 2, and we were just like overstating the love for Demi.
We'll never
and then, like,
know.
I'm dying to know the Adrian Brody of it all. Like, did they just? I have to come back to. I just in the context of The Brutalist only winning 3 Oscars, it just feels really strange that Adrian Brody ended up being one of them.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I still was, again, I loved Honora. I just, after seeing The Brutalist, I was like, there's no way The Brutalist doesn't win.
Yeah.
Like,
it makes you think, like, if you're a Borisov, maybe supporting actor, maybe it wasn't that close, but like maybe he was sort of the number 2 all along, perhaps.
Maybe.
And can I tell you another moment of the show? The in memoriam section. Did we talk about there not being a David Lynch tribute? We did, right?
I know we talked about it, me and you. I don't know if we've talked about it.
So if we're repeating
ourselves, we're sorry.
There should have been a separate David Lynch tribute because Isabella Rossellini was there. Which, by the way, every time they pan to Isabella Rossellini, she just looks so happy.
So happy and so beautiful. And
in her blue velvet. And I love that when they introduced her in supporting actress, Divine Joy Randolph said, "You were born to do this." I thought that was so sweet.
So
like
good.
That's the thing about the Oscars, is those little details that I just love and make me really happy.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is, like, the in memoriam. This is not funny, but it made me laugh because you were like, "Oh, I forgot they died. Oh, I forgot they died," for like every other person. And
I was like, "Oh yeah, her. Oh shoot."
Yeah, and it was. I do that all the time too. But like, you were like vocalizing like what was in my head, and you're like, "Oh, them. Wow, I forgot." That was great.
Yeah.
Not great.
No.
They died, but I mean, like, great in the context of like our viewing experience. Yeah, and as I've mentioned, our beloved editor JD, I think, is doppelgangers with Sean Baker. So this is a good night for JD too.
There's definitely a good resemblance.
Yeah,
I think.
You know, my Oscar predictions, like I said, I could have done better, but I'm still proud of.
No, it's fun. You did such hard work all season.
Yeah,
I'm
proud.
So
I'm proud of the writers.
Yeah.
Overall, the In Session team, we did team predictions. Everybody did well.
Yeah.
So a lot of great writing, a lot of great interviews were done. So it's just been a really, really fun Oscar season. A first like fun, good first season for us.
Yeah, super fun.
Lessons have been learned. So don't be sentimental. Vote with just assume that a film is going to sweep and like vote with the sweep. Like, don't go out on a limb because it's not going to happen. Just go with the sweep.
Oh man. Yeah. And now the award season comes to an end, which is crazy.
Sad. I'm not okay.
I know.
Someone come check on me in a couple weeks, because I'm still gonna be sitting in this condo eating the pizza and being like, I have no award shows to watch. I don't have a trip with Erica to look forward to. I'm just gonna be like sadly eating my pizza.
Yeah, I mean the pizza is pretty good though.
Very good pizza. If you live in Houston, Austin, anywhere that there's a Via 313, you guys should go support the pizza place.
Yeah, it was very good.
Erica, I do want to ask you, so we talked about a couple of the big Oscar players, but who are some other people from this season that you're kind of keeping your eye on?
Like I said, I think definitely Ariana. Like, I think we're gonna see her with a lot more acting opportunities for sure. I do think Margaret Qualley will like show up.
Yeah, she's getting an Oscar. If we did that episode, where we were like, who's getting an Oscar? If I were to do that again, I'd be like Margaret Qualley at the top of my list.
Definitely. Maybe. I mean, again, we talked about this already at length, but like speaking into the existence, like Zoe Saldana, like taking on more different roles, like, you know, maybe like Coralie, like
what's her next project gonna be? Yeah, that'll be super interesting.
That I'm excited
because also
to see.
like we had so many indie filmmakers, so now it's like they're gonna get more money for their next film. So what are those films gonna be? I think Guy Pearce is super interesting because he's one of those character actors that was around for so long. And this was his first nomination. Like, what does he do? I think Jeremy Strong seems like somebody who's just like,
and even Kieran, like, now what? You know,
now what?
I said this earlier to you, like, I was like, oh, Kieran got an Oscar for like literally playing himself. Like, I feel like he was just like being himself, and like, so where do you pivot from? Like being in a role that's so much like
it would be great to see him do something just complete, just shut up the critics, shut us up, and do something completely different. I think Sebastian Stan is super interesting because he sort of has proven himself now that he can do something outside of the Marvels. Like, is he gonna keep doing that? And with Mikey Madison, I think she's great. I think we've seen a lot of young actresses, sort of the Brie Larson, Alicia Vikander, like when you win an Oscar really young, like sometimes you become an Emma Stone, Jennifer Lawrence, and sometimes you really struggle. So
it'll be interesting.
I hope she can carve out a niche for herself, but I don't know. I'm gonna say again, my beloved Coleman Domingo. I think he's gonna be back, but like for what project, and is he gonna be able to win? I hope that he can win in lead actor, not for a supporting role. I would love to see Clarence Macklin, you know, but doing more film. Adam Pearson, who was great in A Different Man, I would love to see him, you know, in more things. All of this to say, I want the attention that's put on these people to translate to more work.
Like, and you know what? We haven't mentioned this at all, but I really loved Nickel Boys. Like, Nickel Boys didn't get hardly any. I mean, at least it showed up, right? Like in the nominations, but
it should have won.
It should have won. Like, it is. We need more films like Nickel Boys for many reasons. The context, like the story, the plot, all those things, but also like the creativity, the innovation, like, it should have gotten more love than it did. And if you haven't watched Nickel Boys, go watch Nickel Boys. Keep an open mind. Shut up about the way it was shot and just take it and absorb it, because it is phenomenal filmmaking. It's really good. And just, God, people, like, be willing to watch something that is different than all the other things you watch. You know,
and
like,
you know who was on my they need to win an Oscar list was Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, who just is overlooked so many times.
She's phenomenal.
Danielle Deadweiler, who should have been a major part of this Oscar season and was not. So I just, like I said, I hope the attention translates to more things and it's not just a one-off.
Well, now we can officially start looking forward to next award season.
I do want to say real quick, though, I really liked they had Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal come out to do Best Picture, and I love how Conan said my favorite Oscar host, because Billy Crystal, you know I'm a grandma, Billy Crystal has always been my favorite Oscar host. I love him. And what did he say? He says, when you win an Oscar, you want the rest of your life.
He was like, let's get to this, like, to read the Best Picture winner, because he was like, because when you win, like, the Best Picture Oscar, you want the rest of your life to start right now, or whatever. Like, you know, it was it was perfect.
It was perfect.
That was really sweet and special. It was really, really cute. I mean, overall, I think it was a great show, great award season, lots of stuff to discuss.
It was a chaotic Oscar season. It was a very toxic Oscar season. I hope that there's like more positivity in future races, but like I said, a good season for us. It brought me closer to you.
I know. I had a blast.
Always be grateful for.
Same.
So now we just have to plan the next time that I get to see you.
You gotta come to Baltimore.
Yes, we plan a trip to Baltimore. I've even started to say it like you and not Baltimore, so you've trained me to say
Baltimore.
Okay. I'm gonna work on it.
I'm working on her accent. Her Northeast accent.
Yes. And as I say, in a world of Karens, be an Erica because you're just like a perfect person
stop.
and like the loveliest human.
The best host. The best host.
I try. I hope my mom listens to this. I'll be like, Mom, just listen to the end of the podcast.
Yes.
I think we need to kind of talk about what our Chasing the Gold off season is going to look like. We don't have any firm plans in place, but we are going to start planning. So if you guys have any comments, any suggestions, let us know. We have been getting some comments on recent episodes, which is so exciting.
Yes, we love hearing from everyone.
Like I read I respond to every comment. They're so fun. And I don't know if I told you, Erica. So a couple weeks ago, after I saw I'm Still Here, I like sent out a tweet and I was like, I had never seen Fernanda Torres in anything. And I was like, I'm so interested in this actress. Like, what do you recommend? And I got like hundreds of replies. I think it's literally the most popular tweet I've ever sent out in all my years. And so I just want to say to all the Brazilian fans that are like sending me Fernanda Torres recommendations, I'm like slowly making my way through everything.
I love that.
So we should do like a Fernanda Torres episode. Yes, we should watch it and do Fernanda Torres. So all of this to say, like, thank you to everyone who's listened and followed along with us. Like I said, it's not over. We will be back, but just because we're wrapping up our first season, like
it means a lot. It means a lot.
And sure. I just feel, and I've said this all season, like the Chasing the Gold writers are really amazing. And
all of our guests that we've had on
are great.
We love you guys.
Feel very fortunate to get to have this platform to geek out on. So
one of the things we were thinking about is starting to do some episodes of like book adaptations that are about to come out, and we were going to read the books and discuss things.
So we're thinking about adaptation that you are looking forward to in 2026. Let us know. I kind of want to do Hamnet. That's we're kind of my top pick. But if there's other ones that you guys are, maybe we should read the Odyssey. Because in 2025, I have to be honest with you. I feel like our big adaptations Oscar-wise were Nickel Boys, which I'd already read, Night Bitch, which I'd already read, Dune, which I'd already read, and I did have to read a Robert Harris book in college, which I did not like, so I just did not want to read Conclave. So I wanted to do this with you for quite a while, but I just was like, I want the right book.
And maybe we'll even do some like fun, because like there's a bunch of like rom-com-y books that are going to be turned in, and some thrillers, which I love a thriller.
And if there are Oscar season or like Oscar races of the past that people are interested in, like it would be really fun to go back and rewatch. I would love to revisit how these races came together. Because it's also really interesting, like in hindsight, when you look at like sort of what the politics of the time was. Like I think about this a lot with what is the movie that won? Coda. A lot of people are like, oh, how did a movie like Coda win? And it was very much like a product of its time, like post-COVID, people wanted something to feel good about. And I think Nora, in hindsight, is going to be a similar thing of like, it's very much, and even Conan made this joke of like, oh, like an American like fighting against a Russian or something, or like being, like, and so I do think there's a lot of very timely, I think in this era of like we're losing our independent cinemas, as Sean Baker said so brilliantly, like it is sort of a celebration of independent cinema, a celebration of kind of this American girl and like kind of this Cinderella story fantasy gone awry. And so like I do think it's going to be a good time capsule for where we are, and it'll be interesting to kind of revisit that in 5 years when you're on my couch. We're going to be like, remember when Honora won Best Picture our first year doing Chasing the Gold?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Time's going to fly.
Yeah.
We'll be
all right.
there.
Take it home, my friend.
Okay. Well, like always, you can follow me at eRock Review, still only on Twitter. Follow In Session everywhere. Follow.
Yeah. I'm at Shadan and Erica. By the way, guys, I wore like my comfiest pajama set. I'm like fully like, usually I try to look put together. I was like, I'm just gonna not, and I'm like leaning back. I'm a mess.
It's kind of literally it's almost midnight, so we just wanted to get this, and while our reactions were fresh. So we had a long day of space exploration. We literally went to the moon and back. We did. We had a blast. We went to the moon and back. I'm at Shadan Larky everywhere. Please rate and review. It does like help people find us. If you have movie lover friends, let them know to listen. Send us, like I said, send us comments.
feedback, all the things, and we'll
be back soon.
We'll be back very soon.
Yeah.
Erica, you're not getting rid of me. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I've been now you have to. I'm grandfathered into all the things from here to eternity.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.